Getting old, man. No. Hey, welcome to another short or little baby video. Welcome to Jade Entertainment Phenix. Oh, wait, is that Jade Phenix? I messed that up. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Jade Phenix Entertainment. My name is Jay Starks. I'm a independent filmmaker, writer, director, producer. You know how we kind of wear all the hats. Yeah, welcome back to another episode of Making It, my first feature film. So, I think, where do we drop off? A lot of exciting news here. First of all, I'm out in the wilderness of the world. I'm just joking. I'm on the back patio, but it's a very beautiful day outside, and I'm hoping the lighting looks pretty decently. Got a little, negative feel because of the old wall over here. It's green, but whatever. But yeah, it's a beautiful day outside. So, and hopefully this microphone's cutting out the excess noise that I'm hearing. Hey, buddy. This is the doggy, Blizzard. I'll introduce him on the camera in a second. So, it's been a week and a half since I think I did the first one, and I did do the little short, so make sure to check that one out because it had a lot to do with, we were doing some scouting missions for the upcoming proof of concept, and there's a dog, because of course, as soon as I start recording, there's something in the background. It's been quiet the whole time. Quiet on set. So this particular episode, what I want to talk about is scripting. Still on the scripting. I think I mentioned that on the short. So when I was in Augusta doing some of the location scouting for the proof of concept for the feature film, I also did a table read at my old stomping grounds at Le Chat Noir in Augusta, Georgia. Once again, if you haven't been down there, go check them out. Theater, burlesque, improv, comedy shows, or if you name it, if it's artistic, they do it. So shout out to Chris Bailey, the owner and operator of Le Chat Noir down there. I had a table read. Today is Wednesday, so Sunday. Had it on Sunday. It was fantastic, and I don't mean fantastic in the sense of hearing my own words back to me and being so, what I wrote is holy and, untouchable. I mean, in the sense of prepping for a production. I, as a independent, filmmaker, have always relied on table reads, right? And I know some people do table reads a little later in the game, like when they have their cast and they want a table read. What I like to do, and what I highly recommend for any budding indie filmmakers, not saying, I'm not Hollywood or anything like that, but something that's always helped me out as a filmmaker and a director is hearing what I wrote come from actual actor voices, right? And I'm not talking about mom and dad, unless mom and dad's an actor, or, your buddy or your friend, and sometimes you may not have a choice. Ain't that some? And I'm not talking about like your bestie, which is cool if you don't have that capability. I thankfully have the privilege of the work that I did at Le Chat Noir, which is a black box theater. A lot of the actors there are really, really talented. I mean, I dare say more talented than some people I see in actual Hollywood movies. That's neither here nor there. But I've always kind of, I don't want to say I took it for granted, because I didn't. I was always greatly appreciative of it. But I've really grown to appreciate them the more I get further into this career, because as a writer, you're writing it, right? You're writing it with the W, write with the R. And even if you say the words out loud, which I sometimes do when I'm writing, or when I'm reading a scene, like I might read a scene and read it back. And even myself being an actor, I can apply some character to it, right? But nothing is better than hearing an actor that has the close tonal and vocal like inclinations or characteristics of the character that you wrote. And that's the beauty of a table read. So I'm nowhere near casting it whatsoever, but I still had some talented actors come out and read for it, and hearing them. And the thing about the table read is it's not them putting 100% into a particular character. They're not really on, so to speak. But if you get talented actors, they're able to lift words off the page and able to grasp the intentions of the character pretty quickly. It's almost like doing a code read, right? So for those who aren't in the biz or who aren't actors or starting out, a code read is pretty much you walk into a situation or an audition or what have you without knowing what the particular sides are. Sides being the little small piece of a scene that you have to audition with. And still being able to look at that side, those, 3 to 5 pages or what have you, understand the character, understand the tone, the wants, desires, conflicts and everything else of that particular character and that story, and then be able to emulate that through their audition a code read. So a professional trained actor can do that. And now they did have a week with the script. The full script is 90 something pages. Hopefully they read it. I feel as though they did because they had most of the characters down pat. But once again, that's the beauty of getting people who do this, because they have an investment in doing a good job. So, we had this, anyway, the table read, it went well. I will say, I did have once again, I want to be completely open about issues that I may have had or obstacles. So I had a situation in which case I have a particular character that I need a particular distinct voice for. And it was a Latino woman. And I thought I had somebody down and I was excited because it was the first time I got to meet with them, and they came highly recommended by a close friend of mine. And kind of was trying to work around the scheduling, which is a whole thing we'll get into later on with the future episodes, schedules, which comes very important for indie filmmaking. But because of the conflict, they had a conflict, they were going out of town, and I knew that, but I didn't ask them about their travel day. So when I reached out to everybody else who I wanted to come out, I knew I had their conflicts, so I didn't double check with them until I double checked with everybody else and confirmed with everybody else, and then I reached out to them, and come to find out they were actually traveling that day, which was my fault. So this is another good reason for double checking, confirming stuff with people and not just assuming. So I screwed up. She was a good sport about it, and I hope to work with her in the future. I'm not going to drop her name, although she knows that I was going to talk about this story, okay? But the important part about that is networking. I've worked in the film and theater industry for a decade plus at this point in time. So I have a pretty good network of not only actors, but DPs and boom operators and sound mixers and producers and whatever you have. Networking is super duper important, and also networking unselfishly, right? And what I mean by that is I am an actor, director, writer, producer, but I think I might have mentioned on a previous video, I do not hesitate to volunteer on other people's projects, even if those 4 things aren't what they need from me, right? Because that's what helps the networking, the give and take, the push and pull. You help scratch my back, I'll scratch your back, things of that nature. And because of my network that I've built up over the past decade, then I have so many people I can hit up or rely on. So luckily, she wasn't able to do it, but I was able to reach out to a good buddy of mine that I directed in a play that I did called Rules of Seconds, which is fantastic. Not because I did it. I mean, the story is great. I did a pretty decent job directing it too. But more importantly, the talent that I was able to surround myself with that production is one of my favorites. So I reached out to him, and we had a good rapport during the entire run of the theater show. And he came out and kicked ass, So thankfully, that's the importance of network. So make sure to develop a team and a network of people that are reliable, that you can rely on, and that they can rely on you. That is super duper important as an indie filmmaker, because it's hard to do it by yourself. And I dare say you can't do it by yourself. I'm one of those firm believers. I have done some shorts literally all by myself, but having that network and those expertise, those people that are really good at because you can't be good at everything, right? So you have that network and those people you can pull from that are really good at the thing they do. That is the key. That's what keeps you going. That's what stops burnout from a project, or stops a project from falling flat or losing momentum. So shout out to that gentleman who came out and helped me out And because once again, I needed to hear a Spanish speaking voice for this table read. But table read went pretty well. I ended up reading pretty much all the action lines. Now, for those who might be watching, you're like, what is an action line? So if you look at a film script, you have headings that are bold. It might say interior or INT, and then or EXT for exterior, location, and the time of day. And what that is, those are called slugs or slug lines. And that gives you the cast and crew, where does this take place, inside or outside, because that helps with lighting, as well as the time of day, and then what location it is. So I had my writing partner reading those, and I was going to read the action lines for pacing, because in the beginning, I wanted to make sure the pacing of the action lines were appropriate for the camera language that I wanted to do. It was a lot of reading, probably more reading than everybody else, just because the script that I wrote. So I was, my mouth was dry, needless to say. But the intent of the next table read, I'm going to have somebody else read the action lines. So me, being the director, can actually visualize a lot better. Needless to say, it was a great table read. And the great thing about, once again, hearing people say words out loud is it helps you pick up on the things that you might have overlooked, be it typos, which hopefully you don't have many. I didn't have many of those. But sometimes you might write something down and you think it's going to sound cool, and it just sounds like a garbled mess coming out of somebody's mouth, or redundant. I'm not saying I necessarily had any of those in here, but that's why a table read is super duper important, and I will always have a table read for anything I do. And once again, before I cast, once I get some of the cast locked in, or most of the cast, or all of the cast, then yes, definitely having another table read at that point. But this table read was to kind of sharpen things up, to help entice and bring in those actors and potential investors and donators, things of that nature. That was a dog here that went flying, sorry. So it's important to me, at least, and I feel as though it should be important to any indie filmmaker, to present themselves as professional, right? Because that's what's needed, especially if you're trying to potentially ask for future money, or just for people, cast or crew, to be a part of your project. The more professional you can be about your process and your steps to making that project, the more people can get behind you, because it'll be something they can be proud of being a part of. Have table reads. So table read was great. So now after that, I took what little notes I could. Once again, I was reading a lot of action lines, but I was able to hear a lot of it. So I'm currently on the process of writing a 5th draft now, cleaning up some stuff. Very little things were too like screwy, you know what I mean? So I feel very confident with where the script is right now. There is some cleaning up I'm gonna do. Like I said, some lines were like, oh, I could have figured out a simpler way to say this, because one of the things about script writing is, how do you be efficient, right? You don't want to be too long-winded in dialogue, because unless that character's like that. But oftentimes it's too much, especially as an act. Speaking from an actor standpoint too, a lot of characterization is what the person's thinking more so than saying. For me, some of the most difficult acting I've done on stage or on camera is when I'm not saying anything. It's, what is that character thinking? What is the thought process? What is the through line? What is the emotional thought process that this character should be having? So it's not all about having flowery language, unless you're, writing a period piece or what have you in Shakespearean. Because a lot of times human beings, when I say a lot of times, most of the time, we don't really say what we mean, so you're not going to have this long monologue about something. You might say something short. In your head, you have an internal monologue about what they really think, feel, or want to say. And that's the key. And that's some of the stuff I'm going to clean up in the 5th script. 5th draft, not 5th script. Well, I guess it is 5th script. So really excited. Table read went really, 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 really well. And I feel like we're in a good place script-wise to, once again, further refine that script a little bit more, and then also kind of sort of take the next step in moving towards further down the line in production. So real quick, I don't know how much time I'm at. I should have should have timed it, but I want to give a shout out in case you're watching it. I hope I don't forget anybody. Shout out to Ernesto. who helped read: Chris Bailey of Le Chat Noir, Marion Thibodeau, Danny Bussey, my niece, who's also an actress, Leah Celine, my sister, who's not an actress, but brought my niece. And another obstacle I had, one of the people that was going to read had to drop out because something came up. This is what happens, right? So my sister had to kind of sneak in there and read a role. So shout out to my sister, Letitia Crops. Who else? Rob Smith for reading 2 characters. Well, a couple of these people read multiple characters. Kind of want to waste people's time having them come and read like 2 or 3 lines, you know? So Rob Smith, who else? So I'm trying to go down the line. The wife, Larissa Vano, my sister, Danny. Oh, Roberto Marin, reading, did an excellent job as well. Chris, Ernesto. Man, I hope I'm not forgetting anybody. Show your appreciation. Like I was saying, I sent everybody a text message afterwards thanking them because they really helped out tremendously. My goal is to like print up that table read edition. I'm gonna have everybody sign it. Just I think it's a cool thing to do, to have, should I say. But what I did, I brought ice water for everybody, brought some cookies. Once again, showing your appreciation, right? Especially if you're not paying them, and more likely, especially if you're doing an early table read. I'm sorry, I'm paying a dog. That's why my hand's doing this. If you're doing an early table read, and like I ain't got money like that, it'd be nice to hand out some money to people if I had it like that. But because I don't, I'm tripping. Because I don't, make sure to have water because they're talking, and some snacks. And just another thing, just showing appreciation and thankfulness for somebody helping you out, you know? My takeaway from this video is do table reads for your projects. Do table reads. If there's any dialogue, do a table read. If there's no dialogue, just action with few dialogue, do a table read. It's going to help you much more than you would imagine if you've never done one. Second thing, show appreciation to those people who do come out to do the table. Well, appreciation for everybody in general, but especially those who come out. If they come out for that table read, thank them. Give them props and the whole 9. And also make sure, if you can, get actors, man. I don't think I can't preach enough. If you're in a place like, of course, I directed and stage managed at a theater with talented actors. But let's say you're an indie director who doesn't necessarily have that set experience that I had on film sets or on theater, the theater boards. Then go out to your local community, right? Theater community, and, you know, find somebody actor like, hey, I'm doing an indie thing. Would you mind reading? You can do it over Zoom. We happen to do ours in person. I was initially going to do it in Zoom, but Chris Bailey suggested, he opened up the doors at Le Chat to allow us to do it there. And one thing I will say, and this is the last thing, if you can do one in person, try to do it in person over Zoom, because there's this weird disconnect in Zoom. And I've been on plenty of Zoom calls as an actor and as the producer and director, and there's this weird like disconnect or timing, and I don't know if it's because of it going through communication or electronic or whatever the case, but it never seems to pop and move like it should. So if you can, I will always say try to have it in person. There's nothing like getting that energy, because a trained actor will be able to feed off of the energy from the other person. And for me, what I end up doing typically is, and I'm assuming, I think a lot of people would do it if they do it, is have the people sitting next to their characters that have stronger connections, right? Because then they don't have to be talking across the table at each other, unless it's purposeful. So for example, I had the protagonist at one end, the head of the table, and the antagonist at the other head, because they are literally in the story against each other. So that's why they were the furthest. But then anybody who's closer, more closely connected to the protagonist sat closer, and vice versa for the antagonist. So that's another little tidbit there. So yeah, shout out to everybody once again who came out. Thank you to Le Chat Noir and everybody who read. I greatly appreciate you. You already know I love you guys. And thanks.